Green Lantern 20, Legacy number 556, Jeremy Adams writing with Jack Herbert on the art. So we left off last issue with Hal leaving the team, who are going to try and steal one of the key ingredients for building a power battery, as the source orb, as we find out later.
Right, unobtainium, if you will.
Yeah, but this issue actually starts where I was like, because I was actually thinking, oh, what were we doing last time? Because, like, you know, we start off introduced to this new character, this alien blacksmith on a planet, and it's basically like 3 or 4 pages of like just how shitty his life is, right? He's been bullied by this guy and not being paid for his sword. His wife is like, oh, I'm just going to go out and maybe find another man. Maybe I'll be back. Maybe I won't. Then he's like pushed down and mugged in the street. And then the wife is like, oh, I might just never come back. I found this guy who's, you know, basically she cucks him, right? For lack of a better term, right? And it's all just building up. And as soon as I saw the red glow around him, I went, oh yeah, Hal went off to like deal with like a red lantern anomaly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I love this opening once I got to that, because I was like, this means so much more to me now that you've given me like who this guy is, this backstory of what built up to this rage.
It feels like a real... So obviously there's not that much of it there, but it feels like a real person.
Yeah, it's just enough to be like, okay, you know what, I sympathize with him a little bit, and because of that, like, I care when Hal, like, you know, comes down and starts, you know, having a green sumo wrestler to try and fight him and whatnot.
Goddamn, they're having fun with the constructs in this one.
Yeah. So Hal's trying to look into this, and he finds the blacksmith and a bunch of his cronies, or not the blacksmith, sorry, the guy who was getting a sword off of him, and all of his cronies are all lying dead. It's the whole thing. So it really sort of like made me care about this little like story that Hal's on his own, which is really cool. And then a lot of the rest of the story is with the others at the source wall, and like, let's just say it, Matt's probably going to give this issue a 10 because it went very heavy on referencing one particular thing. And I just want to hear Matt say that Kyle Rayner's now risen up his rankings a bit, because Kyle Rayner goes full Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Kyle has good taste. I've never said that, except for the stupid crab mask, which I still will hate. I hate that crab mask.
Just think how much better that outfit would be without the
crab mask.
He just had the regular domino mask. He looks rad as shit, you know?
Crab mask is life.
I will say, if you give him the regular mask, it probably look a bit Zorro there.
With the hat,
okay.
yeah.
With the hat and the whip.
Because you know, we go to the ship, and it's Kale, the Connor Kent, and Odyssey, that new character that was introduced last issue. And they're like, hey, should we wait for Hal? And then they basically say, oh, we have to wait for Hal because Kale, you know, whatever. And he's like, no, I'm the Green Lantern. We can go do this now.
Kyle's scared he's gonna get into trouble. He's like, no, I'm not afraid of trouble.
So he says we're raiding the Promethean temple, and he lanterns up Indiana Jones hat and whip around him. And you know what's so funny is I saw this and I went, okay, Matt's going to gush about this, and then the references kept coming later, and I'm like, okay.
I had a big I love Jeremy Adams so much. I feel like me and him are kindred spirits at this point, because he does this a lot. He pulls from stuff that I love, and I feel like we're around the same age. Me and him, he might be a little bit older, but yeah, we share similar passions for stuff. And
he's probably younger.
He definitely loves Indiana Jones, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, but that, and just the whole concept of the source wall and whatnot is such a great thing in DC. So to send these three there, right? We have a Time Bandit, you know, the artiest lantern, and then
we got the heist expert effectively, and then we've got her figuring out there's a bunch of traps and like booby traps, and we have to really like think about this and go slow. And then
he got caught by a trap.
He did.
I did.
Well, so, and here I'm thinking like, oh, Penitent Man. I'm going back to Last Crusade. I'm like, what's he pulling from? I was like, oh wait, he has a Kryptonian. Like, none of this means
just
anything.
walk straight through it.
He's like, hey, any kryptonite? And they're like, no, why? And he's just like, oh, I'll just set them all off. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, God. And then he looks really cool, you know, with all the steam coming off of him. You know, everything's behind him and whatnot.
I like he takes the jacket off first. Like, hold this. I don't want to ruin the jacket.
Yeah, the jacket's important to him. So we go back to Hal, and Hal's found the blacksmith who's got all the Red Lantern energy. Fun couple of bits here where he lanterns up a Roman shield and Centurion helmet and stuff like that.
Which as a someone that enjoys history, the Roman Legion was kind of only as strong as its phalanx. So one soldier, like Hal, you can conjure more, but
Yeah.
So
More gladiator
it looks
style,
cool.
this though, isn't it?
Yeah, but the end of this is really sad though, because basically the alien gets so angry that he basically just explodes with anger.
He gets consumed by his own anger.
Yeah.
I love it. Just leaves the hammer behind.
Yeah, and again, speaking right to my tastes.
Yes, very Thor, of course. Yeah, and I love the silent panels of Hal looking down. He's just like, he couldn't save this guy, and it wasn't his fault, right? He's not to blame for this energy like manifesting in him. And like
Dude was angry, but for a good reason,
Yeah.
Well, but Hal doesn't know a lot of this, right? We do as the readers.
No, but Hal has no reason to assume that he's a terrible person. Like,
No.
Yeah.
We've seen before, like the actual Red Rings.
And to be fair, like in Green Lantern Corps, we also had another character who had the yellow energy, and it was very clear. Oh no, wait, you're actually a good person. Like,
yes.
And
the Tamaranian.
Yeah, and that worked out very differently to this, but
yes.
it's kind of interesting.
Well, and all I can think of is with all the knowledge that Hal has of the spectrum, and all of this, we all know that the blue energy calms the red. You know what I mean? So I was almost waiting for a Deus Ex like Machina type thing, where we get some blue energy from somewhere, right? The hope or whatever. And then when it doesn't happen, and this guy essentially just explodes from his own rage, and we get these solemn panels, this was the much better ending, much more affecting.
It sells the weight of the current like crisis that they're going through of these energies like overtaking people and what can happen as a result. So that's really cool. When we go back to the others, they've basically got the swapping out the idol with the bag of sand, except Connor just super speeds in and grabs it.
Yeah. So just so I can flex a bit, do you remember or do you know what that idol was in Indiana Jones?
I want to say it was a little like golden like head or
yeah. But do you know what its name was? Have you ever heard this? No, Connor.
Not from memory, no.
No, so that's the Chachapoyan fertility idol. So I just wanted to flex a bit here that I know that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something because it related to what they did here. You just wanted to flex that knowledge irrelevant of the comic book.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, then. Well, we shall...
As they said in the issue, nerd.
Thank you, Connor.
Yeah. And because everything starts to crumble because they've taken the idol, Kyle makes a mine car, so they're doing full Indiana Jones stuff all the way.
It bothered me a little bit that the tracks are there already.
Yeah, don't think about it.
I mean, like, they could have just made those green, and that'd be.
Yes.
That's what I mean. If they'd made those green, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder
Herbert was just like, we're going full Indiana Jones here. I don't care.
I almost wonder, like, is this just like a mistake the colorist made, where the colorist didn't realize the track was also supposed to be the construct?
But yeah, if you look behind them, right,
it goes high up. Yeah.
Far back. So maybe the colorist, but you know,
it's not. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal.
It's not. It's not. But it's irritating.
All right. So. I'll admit, I thought the ending to this issue was very predictable, but not in a way that made me mad. Like I knew that okay, they're going to go through all this, they're going to get the artifact, the source orb or whatever you want to call it, and the villains are going to show up and like potentially steal it from them, and that's the cliffhanger, right? What's his name? Starbreaker and Sorrow, the Grey Lantern. They both show up and are like, hey, you got this far, it's great. And it kind of like just goes to show maybe they should have waited for Hal. Although, admittedly, I don't know if what Hal being here would have significantly changed, other than just them having more numbers.
Yeah, they'd have more numbers, and I don't know, maybe a lookout too, you know. But also, this is
wild card spirit.
Yeah, but that's all. This it's like in India at the beginning when Balak shows up. It's like, there's nothing that you cannot possess that I cannot take away. You know, so
do you know what? I hate to admit it, but Matt might be onto something here, that this is another intentional part of the reference, because that's what happens in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So,
That's
But
annoying.
yeah, and you got the emo guy standing behind him, looking. That's as scary as he's ever looked because he looks like a ghost.
I don't remember a big emo guy in Indy, but whatever.
No, but you did have Alfred Molina, and he gets speared in there. So,
Yeah, I mean, I really like this issue. I think this new direction for Green Lantern as a whole, via these first two and then the first Green Lantern Corps, have all been very solid, and I've really liked what they've been doing with it. It feels even more confident and refined than anything. Even though I really liked the first big saga he did with the the new power battery and all the stuff that was going on with Varys and.
I think that it kind of tailed off a little bit.
The ending was not as strong as the rest of it, but this feels like it's really focused to me so far, and I like how it's including a lot of different characters between the two books. So we get Kyle here as well as Hal, and of course these other non-Lantern characters, and then over in Core we're getting John, Jessica, Baz.
I assume everyone's kind of fair game in that one.
Probably, yeah. There's definitely some who are a bit more prominent in that first issue. But and Connor's not ready yet, so I'm not spoiling the other characters.
I just mean like going forward, I feel like it's that's the book where everyone can just kind of get chucked in at any point.
Yeah.
That's the charm of it, and the
But I think what I like about it though is it doesn't feel like just like random side stories. What they were doing in Core issue 1 was still very tied to the greater state of Green Lantern right now.
And you don't have to have read that to appreciate what happens here, but if you have the context of the Yellow. Right, and the stuff that had happened in that issue, to see Hal kind of fails here, then it makes that seem like much more of an event, not an event, but much more of a guidepost for the Green Lantern Corps. So a lot of good stuff.
I'm very happy with the Green Lantern corner of the universe right now. It's a very polar opposite. It's funny that Jeremy Adams was on Flash before this, because it's very much like Flash has become a bad corner and Green Lantern has become a good corner. But there was a time when it was very much swapped. So, hey. All right. And then the art by Herbert, who we've not really mentioned too much yet. I actually think the art in this is quite good.
Yeah. It's more than solid, because the Erastus stuff and him having the massive hammer that's a projection off of his actual blacksmith hammer. Yeah. I like that too, because that's kind of like not the source of his rage, but what he's funneling it through. Like, as a blacksmith, that's what he uses to create. So
I do think the art in that side of it's a little bit better. I think it's just a little bit more focused. I think it's probably just less people to draw on that side of it.
Yeah, but I think the faces are very expressive, both for the fun stuff like Kyle's, like cocky indie things, and then but also the somber stuff that Hal goes through. Like I feel like all those moments do work really well, and the art's a big part of that. So yeah, and naturally the panels with Hal are a bit more straightforward versus like the crazy like Indiana Jones stuff that they're doing with the other characters. But not very so, because it had been Zermanica on this book, and I don't think that Jack Herbert feels like a huge like trade.
I don't know what's going on with the colors. I assume it's the same colorist because it feels very similar.
Yeah, it feels very consistent with what Zermanica was doing before. And given how good Zermanica is, that's a compliment to Herbert.
It is. I don't think it's quite as strong as Zermanica stuff. I think his Zermanica stuff's a little bit more dynamic. But Zermanica is like top tier right now, so.
Yes. Always trust Carter to bring the negative spin on it. But Matt, what are you rating Green Lantern?
I'm giving this 8.5.
Carter?
7.5.
I agree with the 8.5. I think it's very, very good. I really liked it. One of the highlights of my week.